three, and I've got them broken down in my notes. I've got the prophecy, which is our instruction in here, the brick by brick, that builds the case for Christ is the Messiah. But I've also included what I've written in my notes as the fulfillment, showing the proof that this is what the Old Testament writer said, and this is what he did, and it's the same. So I'm going to start, if I can have Lenny go, my first one. Actually, most of the prophecy ones are in Isaiah, but they're all over the place. I started with probably the main one that if this one doesn't get checked off the list, you can kind of discount whatever other ones someone says they've done later on. This is kind of, step number one. It's the first brick that you got to put down. Like these, when you put them together, it doesn't look like this to start with. First you build your base, and then there's this weird little block in there, and you have to put things around so other pieces can go onto it. It doesn't look like what it's going to be, but if you don't put that centerpiece, that first one in there, it's all going to fall apart. It ain't going to look like this when it's done. Originally, I was going to bring one of the ones I've built and then just make something random, but box seemed to work better because it's actually all right there. So in Isaiah 7 and 14,
therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.
I mean, if you can't fulfill that, you're pretty much out of luck right off the bat.
Right.
But if there's going to be a prophecy, if Jesus has come, he's going to have to have fulfilled that one already, right? So now we're going to my second column, our fulfillment side. Luke 13 and 5. Sorry, 1 and 35. I didn't read my colon between the 1 and the 3. It's a smaller notepad. I had to kind of write it smaller so I wasn't doing 30 pages. Oh, yeah. I was wondering, what do you mean? You confused even me, which isn't very hard, but.
And the angel answered and said unto her, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God.
We also have other verses later on talking about Mary, which is Jesus' mother, was only engaged to Joseph before she found she was with child. To the point that Joseph knew it wasn't his, but he decided to be more honorable than some of us would be. He didn't, put her away. He didn't make her a mockery or shame. He allowed it to happen and raised a child, fulfilling what Isaiah wrote. I don't think there's even a prophet Uzziah. I think Josiah was the king, but I don't know. So now we're going to look at another page in the instruction book. We're going to go back into Isaiah, chapter 11, and I'm reading my colon this time, verse 1.
And therefore shall come forth the rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots.
So here we have part of the lineage of Christ. So not only, he was born a virgin, but now he's also coming from a specific line of the family. There are two different accounts of his genealogy. One gives us the one through Joseph, the other through Mary. And the one I picked for my next one is Matthew 2 and 23. I think I picked the wrong one. But you can keep reading it.
That it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene.
Yeah, somehow I think I put the wrong Isaiah one. I looked it up because they had a whole chart. It goes through, it shows you all the different ones. There are so many. He fulfilled, I think they said the estimate's about 300 so far, because that was how many referred to the birth, the ministry, the crucifixion, and resurrection, and the rest still have to come because they're the second appearing. They're things still in the future. which a good rule of thumb is if every fulfilled prophecy of the Bible has been filled literally, it's a safe bet the other half are going to be fulfilled literally exactly as they're written as well. I wonder if I just flipped these. Let's see what Isaiah 35, 5 through 6 says. That might have been where I flipped them. Nope.
Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped.
Okay, and now we're going to go to Matthew. I think we learned about this, was it last week? We learned about someone that was blind and could see, and other instances of other healings. There was Jairus' daughter. There was the woman with the issue of blood. I think, was it yours? That was the 12 years. So if we go to Matthew.
Do we still need to read 6?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Then shall the lame man leap as in heart, and the tongue of the dumb sing. In the wilderness shall the waters break out, streams be in the desert.
Okay.
What's the heart?
You know, I should have looked that up. I did not. Someone want to look that up? Lenny? Or whoever's got a cell phone? It's got to be something to do with strength, because the person in that section of it was lame, but is leaping, so I'm guessing it's some type of deer-like animal that jumps. Just guessing. We'll see what
I think you're right.
we'll see what Agent Google tells us.
It is a deer.
So it's probably one that likes to jump around too.
Well, some deer don't run.
Yeah,
Some just, they hop.
they hop back and forth.
It says especially a red deer over 5 years old.
Yes.
So it's mature.
So a person that's lame,
It's going to jump
been
around.
lame, can't walk, is gonna jump like a deer.
Instead of walking, he's going straight. You know, we talk about our kids all the time that they always want to learn to run before they walk.
Well, that prophecy right there is fulfilled even through Peter and John when they go to the temple in Acts chapter 3. Yeah. Because he said he came leaping.
And rejoicing.
Yes.
So let's see what we hear about this specific step in identifying Christ. We're going to go to, my last Matthew one, chapter 11, verses 2 and 6. I'm sorry, I won't stop this one. We'll read all through all 6 before I run my mouth.
Wait. Now when John had heard in the prison the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples, and said unto him, Art thou he that should come, or do we look for another?
Okay, I was wrong. I'm going to stop you for a second. Go back to 3.
Don't let him get away with that.
Yeah. So now we have John's disciples. John is asking them. He's heard some of the things that Jesus has done. And he asked point blank, are you our Christ, our Messiah, our Savior? Or do we need to keep looking? And now we can finish. We can go with the last couple of this.
Jesus answered and said unto them, Go and show John again those signs which ye do hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, and the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, and the dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them.
There should be, was there one more?
And blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me.
So even Jesus, obviously, because part of the inspiration behind getting the Old Testament writers to write it, pointed directly to the ones that, like if you have water on the stove, you're cooking some macaroni or something, you don't have to go and check the temperature to see if it's ready. You see the steam, you see the bubbles, okay, it's ready. So he's telling John, not ramen, I don't like ramen. I've never had ramen noodles. I want to try like the real ramen. Like I've heard of the ones in San Francisco that have the ramen shop. I'd try those, but the little freeze-dried ones they put in the pack, I'm not sure I'm not interested in that. Maybe I'll hold off reservation on that until I get to try that.
Get some dumplings and some frog legs and some ramen special approval. You change your mind.
But even more so than what Jesus is telling him, he also knew that John, his disciples, and anyone who had read and actually believed the writings in the Old Testament would understand that the signs in this point to only one person. If they weren't just too spiritually blind to understand what they were seeing. And like what the Lego says, it's not, 2 or 3 little pictures. I think one of the ones I have at home has probably, between the different bags, 90 to 100 different steps. There are hundreds of others of these. Like I said, there are 574 that in some way, shape, or another point to a certain individual. And they're not going to give room, there's no room for error, there's no debate, there's no mistaking. They're not going to point to Buddha, or as like we just like to say, other gods with a little g, not the big G. And it's interesting some of the other people that have realized this and wrote some things about it. I haven't read the whole book yet. I finally found, I've been looking at this for a while. There was a mathematician in the 50s by the name of Peter Stoner. And he wrote a book called Science Speaks. And it is a book entirely about the scientific proof of the accuracy of prophecy in the Bible. He went and he posed this question to his class, because he taught mathematics at, I believe it was Caltech or USC, one of the ones in California, for a number of years. And he just said, okay, look at these different prophecies of the Bible. Look at the entry of Jesus on the donkey into Jerusalem. Look at being betrayed for exactly 30 pieces of silver. And he narrowed it down. He had 8. He said, what are the odds that one person can randomly complete 8 of these without it being designed ahead of time by God? Now, of course, he believed that God inspired everything. So he was trying to prove the point that someone wasn't accidentally fulfilling all the prophecies to say, oh, yep, it's me, I'm Christ. It had to be one specific person at one specific time, and it was all orchestrated by the term we use of intelligent design. So what were the odds? Just 8. Just 8 of the 300 were fulfilled, but just 8 of them. He gave a conservative estimate of it's 1 in 10 to the 17th, which is 1 chance in 10 with 17 zeros after it, that one person without God's hand in it could fulfill just 8. He explained it like if you took a silver dollar, which is probably about between a quarter and a 50-cent piece in size. If you took that number of silver dollars and placed them in stacks over the state of Texas, the stacks would be, I believe it was 2 miles high. And if you marked one single coin on there and blindfolded the guy and said, go in your first try, find the one, and mixed them up after you marked on it, find me that one coin, he'd have a better chance than one person would of just randomly fulfilling and being who Christ was and who he said he was and who God said he was. Meaning that without God, it wasn't possible for the writers to tell us who to look for, and it wasn't possible that for Jesus to come to be who he was. So it's no matter what the world, what other people say, it all points to one person. This is one I didn't give Lenny. It all points to a specific person, and it's one that a lot of us know. It's Acts 4:12. It's probably one of quoted almost as much as John 3:16. I didn't give it to him, but I wrote it in here. It's not a random person. This whole list of everything that points that it is Jesus, that neither is there salvation in any other name, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. If anyone, be it friend, family, be it talking head on the news, says, look here or look to this man. If they can't find that man in the pages of our Bible, don't listen to him.
That's right. That's right. Amen.
That's actually about all I got on that one.
Tonight in Bangor, if you can, I'd advise to get there. Stacy, you're gonna miss it, unfortunately, but we're gonna miss you too.